end up here again. A month ago, George Floyd was killed in Minneapolis. In 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in Memphis. Both senseless deaths prompted protests here in Kansas City that turned violent, forcing us to confront the role race plays in our society. It looks a bit different now, but we're in the same place. Problems, pain, protest, and not enough progress. To understand the significance of this moment, we have to paint the picture of what happened in this community decades ago.
NBC interrupts its regular program schedule to bring you the following special report.
Martin Luther King Jr. was killed tonight in Memphis, Tennessee.
I was in this room, it was about 50 years ago, sitting somewhere near the north door, morning of the 9th of April, 1968.
I just want to do God's will.
The day Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was laid to rest, Kansas City public school students wanted the day off to grieve.
They'd killed Martin Luther King. Here he was out there trying to do good, trying to do it peacefully.
Students from Lincoln Prep, Manual, and Central all got together.
We're gonna walk out because the school is telling us to all stay in, and so we walked out.
They say 300, it looked like maybe 1,000 people coming to, northbound of the Paseo, and they were like sidewalk to sidewalk.
And the 17th Terrace and Paseo is where the mayor came out and spoke to them.
Mayor Ilis Davis agreed to allow the students to march to City Hall.
I think the butterflies went to my stomach all the way up, oh, shoot,
And the kids went up north through the I-70 and then walked west on the eastbound lane.
We all got in a semicircle, just a group of us, and there was a black female walked in the line in front of us, and she was cursing us and yelling at us, and all of a sudden I saw a soft drink bottle from behind her come flying over her and broke. And next thing I heard was click, click, click. That's the sound of a pin being pulled with a gas grenade, and the gas, boom.
By now, many of you have seen the video.
I can't breathe.
George Floyd, killed on May 25th, pinned under a police officer's knee.
They gonna kill me, man.
On video for 8 minutes and 46 seconds for the whole world to see.
Please, please.
Beyond the pleas, have you heard the cries?
What's his name? George Floyd!
George Floyd, a 46-year-old black man, was killed in police custody for allegedly using a counterfeit bill at a store minutes earlier.
It was painful. I couldn't watch it. I couldn't watch it. You see those folks, those officers, and they're acting like this is just part of their job and doing business. And you're like, it's not that, and it doesn't need to be that. You want to go there and just say, stop.
I think for most people, it was the first time they had ever seen in real time the death of a human being. For the first time, people said, oh my goodness, they're not making it up. These things do happen.
It's horrific, and it's embarrassing, it's shameful that here in the United States in the 21st century, we have not overcome what King called that crippling legacy, and that's a very apt description.
I don't think anybody saw that we would have that's the level of magnitude, the level of passion that I think we ended up having over that weekend and over the days that followed.
Protests erupted in Kansas City, much like in major cities across the country, calling for an end to police brutality and racial injustice. Once again, the streets filled sidewalk to sidewalk.
Black Lives Matter!
We're still arguing the same thing. It's different because those with the imbued privilege are now out front with us. When we were doing this in '68, it was just us, and it was us against them.
Images from recent protests mirror those from decades ago. This time, at the Country Club Plaza, windows were broken, stores were looted, and vehicles set on fire.
Our windows were broken open and then it was set on fire.
Kansas City police used tear gas and non-lethal rounds to keep the crowd under control. And here comes the tear gas into the crowd right now. 2 officers were hospitalized because of their injuries. But that wasn't the only hurt on display.
My name is Missy. I'm here because I'm angry and I want our voice to be heard. I have a 17-year-old son at Absolute because I'm out here for him. Because I promise my son won't be a hashtag.
Every black man's name is George because it could happen to anybody.
His name, alongside other unarmed black males killed by police across the country and here in Kansas City.
Let me listen to you. Let me talk to you.
Well, we're not here with anger. We're here with solutions.
I think Black Lives Matter might be that galvanizing issue that gets us back on the course of completing the civil rights struggle, something that we didn't do 52 years ago.
America's never dealt with that. It's something that's uncomfortable to deal with. But somewhere, some way, we'll have to deal with that issue of race. Some of the same issues that we faced in 1968 that were the crux of the rioting around this nation, to a degree still exist in urban America today.
Black people, in fact, had been amazingly patient. How they kept it under control in that era is hard to figure out.
In the 5 decades since, some things have changed dramatically.
The people in Kansas City really ought to feel pretty good about things they've done. I mean, this city has changed dramatically. We had a fire chief, a police chief, we had black superintendents, we've had a black chair of the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, and it goes on and on and on. We are not where we ought to be, but we have enormous progress that we can feel good about.
I would applaud Kansas City because of the way we have handled this one. Other cities might want to look at how we were able to quell things with very little destruction.
In the days after protests began, a donor committed to buy body cameras for KCPD. The Board of Police Commissioners quickly established protocol for use of force complaints, reviewed the policy on officer-involved shootings, bringing in an external third party to review. KCPD also looked into and limited the use of tear gas and non-lethal rounds during the protests.
This is just the first step. We got more change to come.
50 years later, do you look back at 1968 and say that it was worth it?
Oh, sure, it was worth it.
Oh, heck yeah.
It was worth it and it wasn't worth it because, again, to this day, that has not come back.
I don't advocate riots and confrontation, but it does raise the consciousness.
I think it succeeded in that. I mean, there was a certain renewed commitment to these problems that obviously shaped a lot of people's lives.
We do still have problems in Kansas City, make no mistake about it. People believe that it's all over, and that inhibits us from making it better.
How do we make it better?
Well, we make it better by people recognizing, first of all, that this is not nirvana, that we have not reached perfection on the issue of race.
Every week, every day, there's going to be more work. There's going to be work in meetings. There's going to be work in policies. There's going to be work to make sure that we don't make the mistakes of 1968 or 1992 in Los Angeles or 2014 in Ferguson. We want to make sure that we have real steps after this point, and so that's what I'm really looking forward to engaging on.
So our community and our country can embrace our humanity?
I think all of us as black folks too, know pain. And know the pain of seeing those videos and see some connection with you in that.
And hopefully, finally, heal.
We are fortunate that this is happening at this moment.
We have a time in history right now to get it right.
Now the real work has to be done, something we haven't done in over 300 years. For a lot of Americans, there was hope that, wow, these protests, that's going to be the end of the story. No, this is the beginning of the story.
There's nothing more powerful than a movement whose time has come.
Right.
And we're at that time.